My name's Nicholas, and the story I'd like to tell you I learned from a crow while taking a walk in the park. She said this story comes from Central Europe, which is now called Austria. Would you like to hear it? All right. Once upon a time, there near the rivers and the fields, there lived a Krampus. Now, Krampus was an ancient man. He was part man and what seemed like part goat. He had hair. He was hairy all over. It was a rusty hair color. And on top of his head, he had what looked like goat horns. He was a wild man. But the people loved him. He taught them so many things. He taught them how to plant their gardens and how to take care of their sheep and their horses. And he told them and he taught them how to live where they were living on the earth. And he also taught them how to dance. You could sometimes find him playing his music, one of his favorite things to do out in the fields. And as he played, he would hum and he would move and he would dance to the music that he played for the birds and for the deer. And sometimes the bears would come and listen to his playing. The people loved him, and they knew him well. Well, one day, a new man came to their village, and his name was Nicholas. Now, Nicholas was a very fine, stately man. We don't know where he came from, but they say that Nicholas came from the stars. Nicholas was a very wise man. He was completely different from Krampus. Where Krampus was full of heart, Nicholas had a brilliant mind with many ideas and many plans. Where Krampus loved being outside, in the fields, Nicholas much rather preferred being in the city, having a sturdy, warm house with a good roof so that he wouldn't get wet all the time. And whereas Krampus loved to dance, Nicholas didn't. Well, you couldn't have more opposite personalities. And they lived together. But Nicholas soon realized that he felt that he wasn't just different from Krampus, but indeed that he was better. Krampus exemplified everything that Nicholas was trying to improve, that he could do in a better, more efficient way. And so Nicholas began to tell the people what he thought. And he began to tell stories about Krampus, and he began to find ways to make himself look better than Krampus was. And soon these stories began to transform Krampus into a monster. And it wasn't long until the people and Nicholas one day chased Krampus out of the city, deep into the mountains, and they threw sticks and stones at him as he ran. Soon Nicholas became well beloved. He had great ideas, and he always had the answers to the people's questions. And so the cities grew. They built fine houses, and life was different. One day, Nicholas was asleep. But he had a dream, and in this dream, a voice came to him. "Nicholas! Nicholas! What have you done? You are not better than Krampus. You are different. You are asleep. Wake up. Wake up." And with that, Nicholas awoke from his dream with sweat coming down his face and a lump in his throat. What had he done? Did this dream come to him? Could it be true that he had been wrong? He thought of all the ways he could solve this problem inside of him. But the hurt and the guilt would not leave him. Until one day he knew what he had to do. And taking his staff and putting on his coat, Nicholas went in search of Krampus. Deep into the mountains he went, and we do not know whether it was a short time or a long time, but Nicholas called out for Krampus across the mountains. "Krampus!" he would call, but all he heard back was his echo. His clothes became tattered. His hands became rough, and his face bitten by the cold, cold winds. He drank water straight from the springs, and his shoes had holes in them. But one day, he looked up the mountain, and there, by an outcropping, he saw what looked like a man, but had the horns of a goat. And he began to climb. He climbed up the mountain until there, standing before a cave, was Krampus. And approaching him, Nicholas fell to his knees and said, "I was wrong. Forgive me. I will make amends if you come back with me to the city. The people need you." And Krampus looked at Nicholas, and they looked deep into each other's eyes, and Krampus saw that he was not the same man that he was before, that something inside of him had indeed changed. And Krampus knew that he could trust Nicholas. And smiling, he went into his cave, and he brought out his fiddle, and he began to play. And as he played the music, Nicholas began to dance. He began to move in ways he had never moved before. he began to jump. He began to leap. He began to dance around and around. And the joy in Nicholas's heart grew and grew. And the two saw each other for the very first time. And together they walked back into the village. And Nicholas told the people that he was wrong, and that he had made a mistake, and that Krampus was needed here in their city. And the people heard what Nicholas said, and they too looked in his eyes, and they saw that they could trust him. And soon the people and Nicholas were dancing to Krampus's music. They danced in the town squares. All the people came out. And there was great rejoicing. And there were crows that were on the roofs of those houses that saw everything that I told you. And they told this story to their children. And their children told their children. Until one of those crows told me. And now I've told you. See you later, everybody.